All right, everybody, it's the Let's Talk Switch podcast. This is for the week of April 24th to April 30th. I'm your host, Jeremy Harvey. Joining me yet again, Brian Hour.
All right, everybody.
How we doing, Brian?
Just dandy.
Good to hear. On this week's episode, we're going to be talking a little bit about some drama involving some indie developers and how Nintendo is handling putting indie games on their systems.
Yeah.
And we're also going to talk a little bit about a big name retiring from Nintendo.
Yeah.
But first, one thing that I want to do with this podcast going forward is I always like to do these in these kind of shows, but sometimes they get a little off topic. But I think it's good for this, and that is the what have we been playing, specifically what Nintendo Switch games we've been playing.
Yeah, if we keep it to the Switch, we might be able to stay focused.
Sure, and my worry is that we'd bring up a game saying like, okay, this game's coming out this week, but then never talk about it again.
Yeah.
And if there is a game that came out recently, I want us to be able to talk about it. So I think it would be good going forward. We'll probably open up every episode with that, as long as there is something for us to talk about.
Yeah, I was going to ask you if you wanted to do that this week. And then lo and behold, I saw the outline, and yeah, that's what we're doing.
Yes. And one game I want to talk about in particular is Wonder Boy the Dragon's Trap on the Nintendo Switch. Now,
how is that?
Well, before we get into this, I need to apologize to you, Brian.
Okay.
Because every time we've talked about this game, Wonder Boy, you've brought it up by saying, oh, I remember it as being Adventure Island, and then I would get in an argument about it with you, saying like, oh, it's not Adventure Island, it's this, and all that. And it turns out that, further research, every time I looked into it, I found, okay, it's by the same people, but it's like these are two different games that the same development team made and all of that. But the very first Wonder Boy was a basically renamed and reskinned version of Adventure Island, the arcade version of Adventure Island for the Genesis, or for the Master System.
Yeah.
And so I didn't realize that, and every time we brought this up, because I've been hyped about this game, and I would bring it up, and then you would say that, and I would be like, no, you're wrong, and I was wrong.
That's all right. Don't worry about it.
And I just wanted to say that.
Okay. It's all right. I don't feel bad about it. Don't worry.
But Wonder Boy the Dragon's Trap is I don't want to say, okay, it's a good game, but the thing is it is exactly like the original Master System game, because that's what it is.
I thought it was supposed to be Wonder Boy 3.
It is Wonder Boy 3 The Dragon's Trap, but it was a Master System game. Okay. It was the third in the series, but it is still a very old game. It is still rooted in those old design style that they used to have, where your typical platforming game, you can get in stun locks constantly in this game, where enemies can just keep hitting you, and you are just in that frozen sort of blinking...
Bouncing back and forth between two different enemies hitting you.
Yes. Now, fortunately, they do it, and I don't know if they changed this or if this is how it was in the original, that when you are in that damaged state where your character is like, I got hit, and he's like blinking, and you bounce around, you can't take extra damage on that. That animation has to finish before you can take more damage. But it can still be very annoying when you're just getting bounced around and can't do anything.
Yeah, usually once you get hit, you start flashing, and then you shouldn't get hit again.
Right.
But that's not the case?
No, not the case on this one. You kind of, like I said, you bounce around. Enemies don't really go through you, so you can't do that style of, okay, I'll just force my way through this. I'll take the hits to make the play, sort of thing. And take the damage, but try to get through them. You'll still bounce off of enemies. So that's not really a tactic you can use.
Okay.
But this game, so it's a reskinned version of that. And the reskinning is gorgeous.
It looks great.
It's all like hand-drawn. It looks like a Disney animated. It reminds me a lot of like those Disney shorts that you would see in like new Disney movies when you go there before the movie starts.
Yeah.
They've had some really great stuff. I remember one in particular that it had something to do with like these two people out in front of a subway, and there's like a piece of paper that a guy like is writing a note on, and it gets blown around. If you can remember that, it kind of reminds me of this style there. But very good looking game. The music is really great, and at any time you're playing it, you can hit the right trigger, and it just slides to the old style. And it just shows you, it basically just lifts the sheet up, and you can see the original game underneath. And it plays the exact same way.
It's just a button press?
It's literally just press a button, and it does a little slide.
Okay.
And you can do that. And then if you click in the right stick, you can switch between the old music and the new music. So,
that's really cool.
Yeah, for someone like me, I love video game soundtracks, and I love jumping back and forth in this because you can hear the old style song, and you can hear the influences that they've used for it.
Yeah.
And it's really funny how you'll look at you'll look at the old graphics, and you'll see kind of like how bland the design is in general. It's still, looking back on it, it was still a good looking game for the time. Like, compared to the kind of games that I was playing on the NES at the time, it's like, these actually look kind of better. I don't know how I was missing out on this. Dean would like to hear that. But, but it's really cool where you see that, and then you look at the new visuals, and they have the parallax backgrounds where you get like a 3D view into the, you can see depth and things going on in the distance, and they put so much love into redesigning this game. And it's really cool, but it's very hard because it still has that old school mentality of games.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we're going to make you earn your way through this game so that you don't beat it in a weekend and, just rent it or whatever.
Right. I'm about 4 hours into the game, and I think I'm done. I think I'm near the boss, but I'm like going through, because it is kind of Metroidvania style, where there is a lot of things to explore and a lot of like extra heart pieces to find. And there is like something that they've talked about, like a special rune that I haven't found that I know is hidden somewhere that I want to find before I go to fight the final boss. So I've got that. Probably going to put maybe another 2 hours in there. This is a $20 game. It is a little steep asking price for it when you're only getting about 4 to 6 hours out of the game. You could probably get through this entire game in 2 hours if you know what you're doing.
Okay, yeah.
But it's a gorgeous looking game. It's really cool just how the old style of it. I really like it. And I would suggest it to anybody that likes those old school side-scrolling platformers. Yeah,
and you've got a bunch of Neo Geo games, and now a remake of a Master System games. What else is around the corner for us when it comes to the Switch? I
mean, hopefully some Nintendo retro games.
Yeah.
We don't need to keep talking about that, though. So, why don't we... and you don't have anything to talk about this week, right? For Switch games?
I'm still playing lots of Zelda.
Right.
I think I'm about 160 hours in, and I just stumbled upon a little fishing town.
Right.
There's really not much going on there, but
it's a really cool looking town, though.
I was pleasantly surprised. Like, there's just crabs running around everywhere, and it just kind of turned the corner and thought I saw something, or at least I saw a shrine. And as I got closer, all of a sudden it was raining too, and nighttime, and all of a sudden there was just like a little fishing village in front of me.
Nice.
Found there's a lake on top of the mountain next to it that has hardy radishes all over the place, which is basically all I eat.
Yeah.
Anymore. Anything that will extend my hearts into the yellow is basically what I eat at this point. But yeah, I'm still kind of trucking along. I got all the memories this week, and yeah, I see no reason to stop until I have something else to kind of take my attention away from it.
Right. Yeah, I mean, I finished Zelda. For those that don't know, we do have a Breath of the Wild focused podcast, Chat of the Wild, that you can find on iTunes and Google Play, where we go through our play of Breath of the Wild. It's sort of a book club style thing.
Yeah, it's been fun.
Yeah, it's been a lot of fun. We are close to wrapping up. We will be taking a short break once we do that, but I think that we're going to try to start from the very first Zelda, and we're going to work our way through the whole series.
I would like to do that.
Yeah,
it's been too long since I've gone back and played the original, so especially now that we've had this game, and I want to play the original much like I played this game, where I just kind of wander and take everything one frame at a time and just kind of mess around. So
exactly.
Other than that, I played some Melee with my brother, and whatever. He's every now and then when I go over there, he's always playing something weird. So that reminds me, I don't remember what it's called. I think it's called Disney Skate.
Oh yeah, it was a PS2 game.
Made by Activision.
Yes, I remember this game.
In the engine of Tony Hawk.
Uh-huh.
Starring Disney characters with the exact same controls as Tony Hawk.
Yeah, people refer to it as sort of the Kingdom Hearts version of Tony Hawk.
It's like baby's first Tony Hawk game.
Yeah.
It was pretty awful.
Right, yeah.
There's some awful music in it too, like a Smash Mouth song I'd never heard before.
Oh my god, what if Smash Mouth made a song exclusively for that?
I mean, not to say that I have listened extensively to their catalog, but yeah, I don't know much about them other than their radio hits, so I'm just like, is this Smash Mouth? This is totally Smash Mouth. Okay. For whatever reason, though, the day before I had been in a weird mood and had been tormenting my fiance Tiffany by just kind of like gutturally saying like, "I just can't wait to be king."
What?
I don't know why. Lion King was on my brain, and then the next day, like, I had the chance to play as Simba in a skating game, so that came back up, and she was just like, "Oh God, it's really bad."
Was this on PS2? I don't remember it being on GameCube, was it?
Yeah, it was on GameCube too. I'm pretty sure it's Activision. It was on every. It was on
everything that they could. Yeah.
Yeah. It's you don't really like fall off or get hurt, but it's really hard to tell how you're going to land, because I think I'm not even sure what he was surfing / skating on, but it was really, I don't know, it was bad. It was really bad. We played, and it has, had horse and trick attack and graffiti mode, everything that, it was basically Tony Hawk reskin for kids.
Huh.
And it was,
yeah, I was aware of this game, but I'd never played it.
I had not either, and I was very surprised. And after about 2 rounds, I got up to get something to drink and sat back down. And he's like, "Are you gonna grab the controller?" And I was like, "No, we're done here. Put something good on."
So you want to go ahead and hop into the eShop this week?
Absolutely.
Why don't you go ahead and take this first one?
All right. This is another Neo Geo game called Overtop. Players will participate in breathtaking races through urban areas, mountainous regions, and snowy roads. The courses also feature weather variations to add more variety to the game. So that means there's also rain levels and I don't know.
Yeah, what other weather features do you have for racing games? Like
you've already got
snow, but
yeah, I don't know. Drought.
It's very cloudy today.
Hail.
Fog, maybe, but
oh yeah, fog. Fog is a weather variation.
What's your favorite weather? No, I'm just kidding.
I like overcast.
Top 10 weathers, go.
Well, I'm very fond of typhoons. It's just a good atmosphere. I like the wind. In addition to the various vehicles with different performance factors which players can use, a lot of prepositions in there, right?
Yeah.
They can also enjoy the thrill of drifting their way through corners to clear courses. I really want to play this.
Really?
I did not know about it before, but it's given me a strong like RC Pro-Am vibe.
Yeah, I looked at a bit of it, and yeah, it's a not quite over the head, but
like isometric.
Yeah, isometric view racing game
with little secret paths that branch off.
Right. I'd never heard of this game beforehand.
Nor had I.
I mean, I honestly had to look a couple times because I thought it was called Over the Top.
Mm-hmm.
Like, Over Top doesn't sound right to me. But then again, we're talking about a Japanese translated name, so it's not too surprising, I guess.
I wonder what they were going for in the original translation. It's a racing game where you look over top of the car.
I guess maybe that's what it is.
Japanese. It's a much more poetic language, so
yeah. The Japanese kanji is just like one symbol for that whole thing, but it explains everything about the game in the title.
But yeah, aside from like the like weapon kind of power ups, it kind of has a little RC Pro-Am feel to it, which is absolutely fine with me. I love that game.
Yeah. Are you still waiting for some kind of better 2-player support for it though?
Oh yeah, no, I don't think I'm going to be picking up any of the Neo Geo games.
But this is edging you towards that though.
No, I mean, yeah, I would be willing to pick up plenty of them if they were just more 2-player friendly.
Sure. So next up we have Kamiko.
I'm very excited about this one.
Yeah, this is a $5 game. It reads Kamiko is a game styled around Japanese Shinto beliefs. Fight as priestesses called Kamiko and battle against demons while solving puzzles to make your way through the stages. Look no further if you are looking for an arcade action game with a twist.
What kind of twist? Also, I have stopped looking further. Absolutely.
My search has ended.
Is the twist just the... I'm not sure.
Well, I'll get to a little bit of what I know after I read through it.
My search has ended.
Each stage has several tori, in parentheses, gates, which are magically sealed. Find a way to break all the seals to make your way to the stage boss. Another fun and easy original created by indie games Skipmore. And I think that name's terrible, Skipmore.
I also, is it a Japanese development studio? And Skipmore might once again be something crazy that we just don't really know.
Oh yeah, of course. I mean, there are a number of the indie scene in Japan. There are a number of developers out there with weird names that translate not very well in English.
Yeah,
kind of like that sentence. But this game, I looked into their stuff, and they had done a couple indie games for the 3DS, so they have a pedigree of making little games like this for Nintendo systems. The twist that they're talking about has to do with each level is like almost wave based, and you're earning coins to either coins or points or energy that you cash into like certain areas to unlock the next levels.
Okay.
And it gets a little bit more complicated from that. That's where the whole idea of it having like a puzzle twist comes in. I've seen good things about this. You know, like I said, it's a $5 game, so your expectations aren't necessarily high. Mm-hmm. But I think the visuals look really nice on it.
It looks cool. And then not only that, like I am a big fan of action-adventure kinds of games. And then there is a meter in the corner that is racking up your kills, but you have like a kill streak or like a combo streak. And when it runs out, I assume that you run out of, going back to Tony Hawk, you run out of special meter and you have to start all over again. But I always like that
back
mechanic.
To Tony Hawk.
Yeah. But then that's the only way you can do the 900 with Spider-Man is to have that special meter up. But I always like that mechanic in games. Stuff like They Bleed Pixels had a thing like that.
Sure, yeah.
But yeah, that kind of pushed me over the top. I kind of want. it looked like something I wanted to play. And then when I saw that in the corner, I was like, ooh, that's the cherry for me. Like, I love that kind of system.
Right. So you want to take the next one here?
I don't know if I'm going to read all of it.
There's so much. Yeah, I mean, do it as you
Listen, everybody, there's a game out called Puyo Puyo Tetris. I don't know if you've heard of Tetris or Puyo Puyo, but
there is a demo on the Switch.
I'm sure you've heard of Puyo Puyo Tetris at this point, especially if you own a Switch or you are paying attention to video games. People have been kind of going nuts for this.
I'm so on the fence about getting it. Like, I love Tetris, and I like the Puyo Puyo style puzzles. I haven't played a lot of them, but I know exactly how they work. I'm really tempted to get it, but at the same time, it's like I don't see myself doing much for the online stuff.
Yeah.
Like, I know how competitive that scene is, and I'm pretty good at puzzle games, but I'm not that good.
Yeah.
Because this has been out in Japan for, I think this launched with the Switch, so it's been out in Japan for a month and a half, almost 2 months now. And when you play online, you're playing worldwide. So you're playing against people that have had 2 months to play this game.
Yeah.
And I don't like that.
Or an entire lifetime if you're playing just one or the other.
Right, because this isn't even like the first. I mean, there's been I believe there have been Puyo Puyo Tetris crossovers before.
In Japan, most likely. Only.
Yeah. So that's the biggest thing that scares me off of actually getting this.
I'd like it to have it just because I like playing puzzle games like on the couch with other people. Also because I would like to actually crack Puyo Puyo. The secrets of getting really good at it.
Right.
I basically walked all over anyone when we had the demo. Anyone that played against me, I kind of just it was over, and in a few Tetrises I had them down. My Tetris game is pretty on point. It's been a while since I've played constantly, since I had a cell phone that I played it every single day on. But yeah, I'm more excited because I would actually like to kind of master Puyo Puyo.
That's a noble effort.
Yeah, I don't know. I like puzzle games. I like good puzzle games. But they're more of a childlike fascination. I played them a lot more as a kid.
Sure, yeah.
I never was actually able to master Dr. Mario. I don't know what it is about that game. Also, in this copy here, it says single-player mode offers 10 unique acts, each with 10 stages featuring different characters from the Puyo Puyo and Tetris universes. What are... Tetris has characters other than these 7 shapes?
I mean, maybe in Japan, maybe the Japanese Tetris games have had characters for a while.
I know Tetris Battle Gaiden has characters. I would like it if they re-release that here. That would be really cool. Have you ever heard of Tetris Battle Gaiden?
I have not.
You pick a character, and each character has a specific skill or perk or whatever that you use to attack the other person you're playing against. And I think when people play it competitively, there is one character that's outright banned because it's just really strong. But their little skill or whatever is ridiculously game breaking. But as a Giant Bomb is where I found out about it, and when they showed it, I guess the prices for it on eBay shot up because it's really cool looking, and I'm interested I would really like to play it, but I don't have a system that I can play it on. Sure.
What system was that on?
I don't know if it was a Famicom or I would think. I think it was Famicom. I can't remember.
So that's really old then, huh?
Yeah.
Huh.
Yeah, I don't think it wasn't a 64 or a GameCube. I'm pretty sure it was a cartridge. So yeah, Super Famicom, not Famicom. Yeah.
Yeah, that would make more. I think it would make more sense because there were, in terms of Japanese games. I spent there would be a summer that a friend of mine, my old roommate and I, would go through and look up a bunch of old NES Japanese ROMs and just play games that we couldn't understand, that we've never seen before. And I hadn't come across that one, but we never did that with Super Nintendo. So
yes,
the Super Nintendo Japanese library eludes me.
My dad was a real bargain hunter, but like in the weirdest places. So when we got a portable DVD player for the first time, he researched the crap out of it and ended up getting one from China that was like really well made. But it came with just a crap load of NES ROMs, and they're all Japanese ROMs. So and a little controller to plug into it. So I played a lot of like Hello Kitty games, just like I wonder what the hell this is. And
yeah,
lots of weird stuff, but like I never went through with any kind of like plan. I just kind of went, all right, trying this one now.
So Puyo Puyo Tetris was one of the games though that is getting that Switch tax.
Yes.
That
Wait, it's coming out in other things?
Well, it's on. You can get it on PS4 digitally in the US.
Oh, yes. Okay.
So here's how it breaks down. In the US, you can only find Puyo Puyo Tetris on either the PS4 or the Switch. I don't think it's on PC. You can only get it digitally on the PS4, but you can get it digitally and physically on the Switch. In Japan, you can get it physically and digitally for the Switch, physically and digitally for the PS4, but only digitally on the Xbox One.
Okay, so
you
it's
cannot,
on Xbox over there.
Yeah, it's on Xbox over in Japan, but not here in the States, which honestly I feel like is kind of backwards.
I don't know, I thought it made sense.
I mean, it kind of does, but it's like there are more people. If you're going to release it on Xbox at all, release it here in the U.S.
Oh no, no. Like, see, that's what you would think would make sense, but just the fact that, like, hey, if you actually own an Xbox and you live in Japan, here, just you can have it too.
But
on you.
I believe on PS4 it's $30, and then on the Switch it's $40.
Yeah, that's too much.
But if you buy it physically on the Switch, you can get a little Puyo Puyo Tetris keychain right now.
Oh.
Little collectible keychain.
Well, I won't be doing
that. Make it a little bit worth it.
I'll wait for it to go down.
So yeah, those are the games that came out this week.
I mean, it's a solid lineup. It looks like I said, I think Overtop looks kind of cool, but I'm excited actually for all three games.
Oh, same. I want to check out Kamiko. It's only $5, so really no reason not to. Price of 2 cups of coffee, basically. Puyo Puyo Tetris, I want to play it, but I said the reasons why I'm not going to pick it up. It looks like a great game. And then Overtop looks all right. Not my cup of tea, but, or my cup of coffee, keeping with that.
Yeah, I think it kind of sold me when, like, I like the aesthetic, I like the way it looks, and then I was watching, it's kind of like that Sega Rally, like, medium left, hard right kind of turn, and then one of them, it was like, do a hard left, and he took a medium right, and I was like, what the hell? Oh, there's like secret little paths. Okay, all right, this could be fun. Yeah,
for sure. Well, let's go ahead and jump on over to the news. This week was interesting. At first, there was a little news thing that came up that people were just sort of like, whatever, that's just Nintendo being Nintendo. Then there was another news story that came up that a few other things went along with it, that it's like, okay, there's some real drama going on right here.
Yeah. Initially, we thought that I was excited because if I want to jump into it, it sounded like Axiom Verge was coming to the Switch.
Right.
And I was all on board for that because I haven't gotten to play that yet.
Yeah, Tom Happ, who is like the single guy that made Axiom Verge. He did everything about it. Which, by the way, I've played Axiom Verge. I've got it on my PS4. Really cool game. It's not quite as good as like a Super Metroid kind of thing. It plays heavily on that. You know that this guy just wanted to make his own Metroid. And that's what he did. There are a few things that he didn't quite hit, but overall, great game. It would be a perfect fit for the Switch.
It's the deviations or the like aberrations that make you step back and go, okay, that's cool. Like the things that you don't see coming. You're like, okay, this is a Super Metroid clone. That's basically all it is. Oh, it just did that. Okay, that's interesting.
I mean, really, my major complaint is that I think there are too many weapons in it.
Yeah.
I think there's a couple unnecessary weapons, and that's kind of it. I think the soundtrack's really cool. The visuals look really good. The gameplay on it is super tight. And it would just be a great thing. I'd buy it again if they brought it out to the Switch and I could have it on there and take it around with me. Mm-hmm. I mean, technically, I have it on my Vita as well. It has the cross-buy thing, so I could just pull out my Vita and take that with me. Yeah, but it's not the same.
You have to take your Vita with you then.
Hey, I like the Vita.
Oh, okay, fine.
But it's not as good as the Switch. So, Tom was on a podcast that they were talking about Axiom Verge and about it coming to the Switch, and he said he would really love to see it on the Switch. With that quote, the ball got rolling that everyone was saying, oh, it's coming to the Switch. Like, he is working on it, and he wants it to be on the Switch, so it's inevitable that it will be on there.
Mm-hmm. Because at this point, we're thinking, like, oh, this whole Nindy thing, like, it's unstoppable. If he wants his game on there, Nintendo's definitely going to be like, oh, well, then bring your game over here, please.
Right.
I think it's just the kind of the way that telephone is working right now. Where everyone's whispering in one ear and then the next person, and it changed all of a sudden to, this is coming to the Switch. And somewhere along the way, someone said it was going to get a physical release.
Yeah, there were so many things that were being said about this. And this last week, we got a bit of an insight on how Nintendo is handling these indie games. Up until this point, it seemed like, wow, Nintendo really knows what they're doing with the indie stuff. They're showing all these games. But then when you start to look at it at a larger scale, where it's like, okay, there are people out there that maybe, we didn't realize that, of course, they want their game on the Switch. The Switch is selling really well. It's got great attach rates for all their games. Even just these small new games that are coming out that don't have an established franchise or anything like that are doing well on the Switch. Of course, indie developers want to put their games on there. And what we found, and this was interesting because this came from Dan Adelman, who does PR for various indie developers. He actually used to work at Nintendo. He was their indie guy. Just I think it was a year and a half ago, he left Nintendo. And he is a very outspoken guy, which you will get from his little quote that he put out in response to why Axiom Verge is not coming to the Switch. Dan says, "We've been asking them nonstop for over a year. They're being douches." I really like this guy.
Yeah.
Because even after he left Nintendo and people were like interviewing him and stuff like that, he was telling some of the horror stories of it. He couldn't go into full details, but he was able to give you an idea that the way they were courting indies back in the Wii U 3DS era, it just wasn't working. And you can look at the indie library on the Wii U and the 3DS and see that it wasn't working very well. So, yeah, we got a little bit of insight there.
I'd like to go read some of the things he was saying about that, because it always seemed like the indie stuff that hit on the Wii U were just like sporadic and like not bad choices, but just like, oh, okay.
And very late.
Yes. Oh, that's way late.
What always came with the Wii U, especially.
And then you got stuff like Meme Runner.
Yeah. And yeah, I definitely want to talk about that once we get through this other little point, because there's some things that up until this point I've always been like, oh man, because I love indie games. Mm-hmm. I was when I was younger, I was a big fan of B tier games. I love the THQs and the Acclaims. I didn't think about it like that when I was a kid. I can only think about it now, looking back on it.
Yeah, I mean, you didn't have any kind of modern context for it.
Right, but nowadays, these kind of indie games, these are the new B tiers, and I love smaller games like this. But we also had have you heard of N Plus? Or I guess the game was originally N, then it was N Plus, and now it's N Plus Plus.
Yeah, it's a weird looking game, but it looks just breakneck and cool.
Yeah, N started off as a Flash game.
Yeah,
and then it came out as N Plus on PC, PS3, and 360, I believe.
Okay.
Then there was N Plus Plus, which I think only came out to PC and PS4. And I think N Plus did come out to the Wii U, though. Don't quote me on that, but I believe that there was. I believe we have seen one of the N games on a Nintendo system already.
Huh.
But there was a Reddit thread this was just between fans talking about how do we get N++ on the Switch. Yeah. People were just, and it's a question a lot of gamers ask, where they're just like, there's this great game that everyone's talking about. It's not available on my system. And some people are like, do petitions work? Do I have to appeal to, the publisher? How do I contact them? Do I contact them on Twitter? Do we do a hashtag? Do we do those kind of things?
Well, guess what? Sometimes all you need to do is ask those questions for developers to show up and talk to you.
So, yeah, in this situation, people were talking about that. And then Mayor Shepard, who was the single guy that created the N series and all that, he came on there and said, quote, Nintendo has to give the go-ahead before we can get started developing or porting. Although we've been talking to them for a couple months, they said they are focusing on games that will sell systems right now.
Which, we're getting this, from... There's a middleman here, so maybe that's what they did say to him, or maybe that's him paraphrasing or whatever, but...
I feel like they could have said that better, too, because that sounds kind of insulting.
Yeah, that's why I feel like, maybe they didn't say it like that, and he's just a little jaded.
Sure, yeah.
But, because that sounds like a really dumb way to say how they're going about doing stuff. There's a lot of holes in that, because, honestly, if they say it like that, then anyone can go, well, then what about this game? This isn't going to sell any systems, or this game, but...
Right. And so, yeah, it gave us a glimpse into how things are being handled right now. I'm split on it because, for Nintendo, it looks like they have a schedule. And they have been thoroughly planning out all of these things.
Yeah.
Where they want to say, okay, they want to give fair time to each of these games. And honestly, I think it's been doing great so far. It's why we have such great attach rates for these games. Is they are given a week. You have maybe maximum 4 games released each week so far. And these indie games are given the spotlight that they need for that week.
Yeah.
And they sell well because of that. So you can't just flood the market right off the bat. Now, it would make a lot more sense for them to start working with these people and to find a time slot for them.
Yeah.
Not to just say, no, not right now. We're focused on other things. And, there's always things that you have to look at to say, if they do this, they're going to be opening the floodgates. Where you can look specifically at PS4. PS4 has been really bad about this for the last 6 months. There have been really bad, broken games, quote-unquote indie games, that have been releasing on the PS4 that Sony has been even giving the spotlight to on their YouTube channel, on the PlayStation YouTube channel. There was a game recently called Year of Black Tiger. Have you heard of this one?
No.
This is a just totally broken game that is clearly like... Someone just figured out how to use Unity.
Oh, no.
Bought a bunch of jungle assets and made a quote-unquote game with it.
But didn't they... Oh, okay. I feel like I may have actually heard about this story.
This was a big deal. Like, everyone was reporting on this because Sony was showing it off. It was being shown off by Sony on their YouTube channel. I don't know if it got a spotlight on the PlayStation Store, but putting it on their YouTube channel is big enough.
Yeah.
This is not a game that should have been on the PS4, let alone shown off as
early access Steam stuff.
It is, and it's not even, Microsoft has an early access program where they say, this is our early access stuff. When you are buying into this, you are buying into a non-complete game. We are going to build it. We cannot tell you when it's going to be done. There's all these things that they say, okay, this is what you're buying into. With this kind of stuff for Sony, they're not saying that.
No.
And this is really bad. Before that, there was a game that literally stole assets from other games.
That's the one I was thinking of.
Yeah, and this was another one that I believe, I don't know if they had... No, I think they did. I think that was also shown off on their YouTube channel. This was a game that never should have gone on there. I believe Sony has taken it off since.
Yeah.
But only because it was proven that they stole assets from Skyrim and put it in this game.
That's right.
So my guess is that is the only reason that they took it off.
Otherwise, they're like, nope, we're not going to admit we did anything wrong.
Exactly. And I understand the perspective of Nintendo.
We stand behind the quality of this game.
Yeah, and that's what they do. That's what, when they release this onto their store, that is what Sony is saying. They are saying, we support this. We have a brand that when you think Sony PlayStation, you think quality games. And you see this kind of stuff, and it's clearly not.
It's that hubris, man. They're starting to get that PS2 era hubris again. They've got their dick in one hand and a magnifying glass in the other, and they're just not looking away.
But I mean, that's the thing. It almost feels more lazy to me than cocky.
Yeah.
I don't think it's necessarily that, oh, look how great our indie stuff is.
No. It's just that. Yeah, it's. I don't think it's cocky. I think it's just not to make the dick illusion again, but that they were like, well, I mean, we don't have to try as hard. Like, look, we're doing fine. Hey, if you don't want to buy this game, then don't buy it. But this is, hey, this game is for sale this week or whatever. Like, they're not trying as hard as they had to because they don't have to catch up with anyone.
It also doesn't help that they have a near non-existent refund policy for these games.
Mm-hmm.
I've tried to get a refund.
That helps out a lot for them.
Yeah, oh yeah. It's money for them, but when you have bad publicity like that, is it really that much money coming towards you?
Hey, I mean, who's going to buy an Xbox One at this point?
Yeah, let's not get into that.
Said Sony out loud.
Oh, okay.
Said Sony out loud with a hot mic.
Yeah.
Did we say that? Oh, don't worry.
Crap.
It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. See, that's the thing. I don't think that they think that they're amazing. I think they just don't think it matters at this point. They probably don't feel like they're competing with Nintendo, and the people that they are competing with, hey, they're not a threat.
And that may be true, honestly. We could just be making a big fuss about nothing when it comes to that Sony stuff. But circling back around to what Nintendo has right now, it's important that they don't let this happen.
Yes. It's very important that they don't mess this up.
We have had one standout game, Vroom in the Night Sky, that is a terrible, terrible game.
Yeah.
Laughably bad.
It's an awful name.
It's a bad name. It has just horrendous translation. The gameplay itself is just boring.
How much is it?
I think this is like a $12 game.
Okay. It's not as egregious as it could have been.
But when you still consider there's 99-cent
bad.
games that I can get on my phone that are like infinitely better than what that is, it's not a good look.
No, but, and it's a little worrying that they're already projecting that it's going to be their highest grossing year in 6 years. Like, once again, stop looking at your dick through the magnifying glass and just focus on kicking ass and doing a good job. Eventually you'll look up and realize, if you do that, you'll look up and realize, oh, we have made a lot of money. Cool. Just keep doing a good job and you'll keep making money. Don't get sidetracked by your greatness.
Yeah, and I'm convinced that we're not going to get Axiom Verge on the Switch now because of Dan Adelman. Because of his comments.
No.
I have a feeling that
Or the fact that they want to resell Super Metroid to everyone.
The thing is, Axiom Verge is on the Wii U.
Oh, okay. It is?
Yeah. Axiom Verge came out for the Wii U. I think it even came out for the 3DS.
I need to get that.
I know 100% that it came out on the Wii U. So, if it does ever make to the Switch, you have the Wii U option.
I did not know that.
Yeah.
Okay.
And from what I hear, it's an okay port. The PC version is the best version. Mm-hmm. Then PS4. I think the Wii U version is a little bit better than the Vita, just in terms of frame rate, really.
Yeah.
But if it doesn't ever come out, you can pick it up in there. But I think that honestly, I think Nintendo needs to have have a wider door, but not by a lot, because I think that they need games that are ready, that are maybe almost like rainy day games. That if one of their games has to get pushed back and they need to reschedule, they need to shuffle things around, they can say, okay, we have this one ready and we're going to be releasing it. Figure out some deals with these people to say, okay, you will once you are done, we will have your game out on our system within 90 days.
Yeah.
We'll slot it in at some point on there.
And it doesn't take much to get a lot of these games up and running.
Right.
And, if you give them a time frame, hopefully 90 days is pushing it a little far, I might think.
I was just, just thinking on the fly, saying, okay, it's done in a month, that might be a little bit hard to schedule around.
Yeah.
But giving yourself a 3-month window of, saying, okay, it will be in here, we'll figure out a schedule then.
Yeah. If you do too long, it starts to reek of the NES licensing days where people were beholden to Nintendo to make their money.
And honestly, it feels like that's what's happening right now.
Yeah. Actually, yeah.
Yeah, it's Nintendo doing that.
Yeah, in other aspects of it, yes. They're locking certain people out that they don't like or don't want to work with for whatever reason at their own whim, because now I feel like now that they've gotten a month under the belt of success, they're starting to get a little cocky.
Yeah.
And that's not good.
Yeah, but it's just still just one of those things that it's like we talk about this stuff. We're not even 2 months out.
Yeah.
The system hasn't even been out 2 months, and we're just sort of like, what are they doing with their games? It was like, have they been putting out bad games? No. I mean, most of the games out on there are really good.
Yeah.
But they're screwing up for stuff on this. Wait, what's happening? I mean, that's how I feel sometimes whenever we talk about this, where it is sort of like, what is Nintendo thinking? Now, if we were talking about the NES Classic, yes, what the hell is Nintendo thinking? But,
I just hung my head.
Yeah. When it comes to the Switch, I think that they're on a good track. It's shitty whenever you hear them talk about how they're dealing with other indie developers. Like in these, it seems rare cases. Because they showed off, 60-something games in their little indie direct a month and a half ago.
Yeah, a lot of games.
And you break that up, and you're still looking at over the course of a year, you're still getting 2 of those games a week. Is that math that doesn't add up, does it? Whatever. You've got a good flow of those games coming through, and I can understand not wanting to interrupt deals that you've made with those developers.
Yeah.
It's tough, and hopefully they work this out. Hopefully we get Axiom Verge on the Switch. I think it'd be great on there. Hopefully we get N Plus on there. That's a really fun game. I haven't played it since its browser days. I'd love to see what the game's like now. Best of luck, Nintendo, on that.
Yeah.
And all those indie developers that want to get on there. So I'll let you take this one. The next last news topic.
Okay. So Genyo Takeda is retiring.
I knew the
around
last name. I didn't know him. I didn't know his full name, but I would hear the name Takeda a lot.
Yeah. Well, I mean, when we were talking about was it Mario Run last year, and I was like, I thought it was funny that Apple introduced him as a creative fellow, and you're like, no, that's like his legitimate title now. I was like, really? I thought they were just being cute. But Takeda is the technology fellow. They were the two. Yes, they were the two guys that helped shepherd in Kimishimi's time. They kind of oversaw bridge the gap between Iwata and Kimishimi. He has been around. He's been at Nintendo for a long time.
Right, because he developed Punch-Out.
Yeah. Yes. He's been around like longer than that. Like Gunpei Yokoi hired him, and I think he and Ueda worked on the what is it? The clay pigeon arcade.
The one that projected on the wall? Is that the one, or am I thinking of a different one?
No, it projected on the wall, but these were like installations. So if you want to go way back, is it Nakamura, the guy who he died recently? He was the founder and head of Namco. He started out in like coin-op amusement. I think, in fact, his first thing was a mechanical horse on top of a like supermarket that he manned and polished and helped children onto while their parents were there. He built that somehow into an empire. But one of the first things he did, which was actually quite impressive, which bowling started to take Japan by storm, thanks to American servicemen and people, visiting Hawaii, Japanese people visiting Hawaii. They became fascinated with bowling, and there wasn't a lot of space, so he engineered a way to put bowling alleys on top of movie theaters and not disturb the patrons of the movie theater underneath. Like, he made it soundproof. It's amazing. The guy is a legend. I'm not quite sure how he pulled it off, but he helped usher in a giant bowling alley craze in like the late 50s and 60s in Japan. Everybody wanted to bowl. Everybody did. By the end of the 60s, nobody wanted to bowl anymore. Nobody cared. But I guess Mr. Yamauchi saw the sport of skeet shooting and thought it was the coolest thing he'd ever seen. And he's like, we got to do something with this. And so Gunpei Yokoi came up with the technology that later became the Wii Zapper Duck Hunt sort of technology. And they hired Takeda, and he and Ueda kind of threw this thing together. Ueda, I can't remember. I think his first name starts with an M. I can't remember his first name, but he's also been at Nintendo for years. And the three of them kind of threw together this. They went and Nintendo purchased a bunch of dead bowling alleys and turned them into these skeet shooting arcade sort of, but not really arcade, but kind of arcade installations.
Were these like arcade before arcades?
I mean, but there are electromechanical arcades that predate this, but it was like a building dedicated to this one thing.
Okay.
And you had little rifles, and you shot fake things on the wall, and it counted your score, except the first opening night it didn't do that, so Takeda is behind the scenes manually adding up people's scores, and nobody knew that there was someone behind the curtain doing everything. He kind of saved the whole thing from becoming a disaster.
Wow.
They eventually fixed it, and these things ran for a while and were extremely popular. But yeah, he I think eventually he and Iwata and Miyamoto gave him the title basically after conferring during a Iwata Asks, saying like, no, he's the guy who made the first actual Nintendo arcade game. He made Punch Out. He made what?
Star Tropics.
Star Tropics, yeah. But eventually sort of became more on the hardware side. I think he made Pilot Wing 64, but only as a like tech sort of demo, because he created the N64 analog stick. He came up with the way of actually sticking a battery onto Zelda, the NES, the American version of Zelda. Because I think the Famicom Zelda was a disk system game, so it didn't need something to save it onto the cartridge. I may be wrong about that. But he created the technology of saving your games through a battery, because they would take power from the game's RAM to save your file or keep it on all the time. He's done a lot. I mean, everybody talks about how he was the lead developer on the Wii, but he also, I think, headed up the design of the GameCube as well.
Oh,
he's been around. I'm glad he gets to retire instead of pass away at an unfortunate age, like Iwata or Gunpei Yokoi. But
right.
and when we were talking about it, I was like, it's kind of sad to see. I thought that these people are all that our industry is getting old enough for our original heroes to be going off into their golden years and retiring, and we're getting to a point where we're losing some of our the fathers of our industry.
Right. And it seems to me though that we are we are going to be having a change in Nintendo. We've already been seeing that, but it's not going to be like a drastic change.
No.
You've seen changes, like we have Koizumi is the head of the Switch development and all that, and he is like the head of their hardware division right now. You have certain people like Sakurai, who really, it's like, okay, he is just focusing on his own little games, but you can easily see him, you can see and hear about him helping out with other games.
Yeah.
In a similar fashion to something that Iwata did.
Yeah, I mean, another HAL developer.
Right.
That Nintendo, I mean, HAL and Nintendo have this incestuous relationship. They always have.
Right, and you look at things like the team behind Splatoon.
Yeah,
is a younger team.
That's always the example I think of when I think of new blood coming in. I'm glad. I actually think that it's good that other people are starting to make their own calls and decisions, and that the higher ups are actually letting them and going with their ideas and not stepping in and saying like, well, maybe you shouldn't do that. Maybe, instead, like maybe kind of nudging them along with saying, okay, well, if you do that, maybe here's an idea, but not really forcing them to do anything the way they would have, letting them figure it out on their own.
It has been interesting the last few years with Kimishima, in that when he was brought on, we came from Iwata, who was this, real happy-go-lucky looking kind of guy that's like, yeah, he's the president, but then he's also, it looks like, he clearly loves video games, and he's all about the fun of video games. Mm-hmm. That when we had the shift to Kimishima, it was kind of like, oh, this guy's like really cold. But it seems as though it might be a good thing, the restructuring that they've made, to where Kimishima is like, I look at this as a business to me, and I will make the decisions and do what needs to be done to keep this business going.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I'm going to restructure things, or we're going to restructure things around so that we have these people that understand the fun aspects of developing video games will have a say in how things are handled.
Yeah. Is it weird offshoot. Do you remember the old arcade game where you are trying to stop the little bugs from building the giant face that will eventually try and kill you?
No.
It's a really cool twist on like an arcade formula. But I always see
that
his.
Sounds like a nightmare.
It is. It really is, because like you're afraid of this thing that will basically annihilate you, and then you have to spend the entire time it's around trying to just dodge it. You can't really hurt it. You're just trying to slow down your own demise. But the face that I just always think of, like I like Kimishimi. I just think of his face as like that grumpy, like old school 80s like boss head floating around. Like
sure,
he has that kind of look on him. I don't think it's like, he doesn't have like resting bitch face or anything like that. He just he looks very serious, and if you like give him like a curled bottom lip, it gives that like, and like maybe angry eyebrows. All of a sudden he's like an angry boss or boss character. But no, I think it's good that maybe we need to cycle back to a maybe not so much tyrannical head of the company, but someone who's just more cold and about the numbers and about making sure that the company can continue to exist for a little while before we find someone else that can maybe if Sakurai actually has really good business chops, that we'll roll back around to a businessman / developer to run the company.
God, if he took any more like higher position, he will die.
Sakurai?
Like with Sakurai, you hear these stories of just him, just not sleeping, working on these games, getting things done, and, having illnesses because he just doesn't sleep.
Yeah.
And if he took on a bigger position, I don't know, maybe it'll be a good thing that maybe he'll stop developing games and start to delegate things and stuff like that, and give more input in terms of games rather than being so hands-on.
I think at this point, he's getting to the point where he needs to just slow down as far as developing
for sure.
goes. I know that made Iwata sad that he couldn't make games anymore, but he seemed to relish in his new position as like the daddy.
Sure, yeah. But little thought, I don't know, maybe you don't remember this. Was Kimishima in Miitopia? I don't recall seeing his face in there.
No, but I feel like I've seen like a pixelated version of his face. Maybe that is where my vision is coming from. I think it's Sinistar or something like that. Maybe that's where that vision is coming from of his face. Because I don't think
we've seen a Mii version of him.
I think that would do, and they're kind of not dealing with the Miis anymore. But I think it would do him good to actually to let developers poke fun at him by just putting his face in places. Something that you never could have done with Yamauchi. But
then there is the fact that we still don't know how long he's going to be there, because even when he was brought on as sort of a temporary kind of thing.
Yeah.
I think clearly he's been doing a good job so far. Like, we've had the most successful, maybe not the most successful to say right now, but currently fastest selling Nintendo hardware ever under him. We've
gotten a lot of them out the door, and whether that is the reason why the NES Classic didn't sell or they didn't produce enough of them, who knows? But he's clearly gotten enough of them out into the world. Worldwide, like over 2.5 million so far. That's a really good launch for any system to actually have that many already produced.
Right.
Usually when you're talking about the first 2 months of a system, you're just trying to get as many of them out there and hopefully get that much. So it's impressive that they've been able to delegate that much.
But like I was saying, maybe he doesn't want to put himself out there as a character just yet because he still doesn't know how long he plans on being there.
Yeah.
It could just be him overseeing the launch of the Switch, and then maybe he'll step down from that position. And then once things really get going with the Switch, he'll back away from it.
Yeah, at this point, it's all up to the shareholders, I would think.
Right. So yeah, let's go ahead and wrap this episode up, though. As I said earlier, we have a couple other podcasts. We have Chat of the Wild, a Zelda-focused podcast that you can find on iTunes and Google Play. We also have Just Another Video Game Podcast, which you can find every Monday on iTunes and Google Play as well. There's also a YouTube channel to go along with that we do Let's Plays and video reviews. We also have a Let's Talk Switch YouTube channel where we recently did a Let's Play of Super Bomberman R and Mr. Shifty. Mr. Shifty was kind of just at the end of it. It wasn't really like an equal split between the two.
No, I think we just eventually got tired of Super Bomberman R and like, well, let's throw Mr. Shifty on. Tyler, you've got Mr. Shifty.
Right, we played enough of Super Bomberman R to just say, yep, that's enough for it. There you go.
Mm-hmm.
Got the idea. But yeah, in the future, we'll also have reviews. You will be able to find a video version of this episode on there as well. That'll put little video stuff to go along with it to make it a nice little thing to look at. You can also send emails to us at podcasts@thepowerbase.com. The Power Base is, of course, our podcast network. So, yeah, you can also follow us on Twitter at Let's Talk Switch as well. Brian, what do you do?
I do stuff at thepowerbase.com, and you can check me out on YouTube at Luigi's Apartment.
All right, guys. Well, like I said, we're wrapping this episode up. Be sure to check all those things out. Do the likes, the shares, the reviews, all that good stuff. We will see you next time.